we're live.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Ian. Tim, that was great. Your new intro.
Yes, my new intro, totally abusing new video packaging I've got. So I think I might have chopped off the beginning to anybody watching the replay. So if you weren't there, you weren't there, certainly.
Looks great. Hi, Ian.
Hi, it's great to see you both. And yeah, again, congrats on that intro. And I know it's always fun playing around with these new toys. So,
I know.
yeah.
Well, it's funny because actually, I think for YouTube, having a shorter intro would be better. But hey ho, it's like it's always about the fun, isn't it? So you are somebody who knows a lot about live streaming because you coach and teach people how to be better live streamers, amongst other things. So let's jump straight in and ask the question: who is Ian Anderson Gray, and how did you end up as a live streaming coach?
Oh well, depends. I'll try and give you the short version of it. So I trained as a professional classical singer back in the day, so that was my background. And then I got into blogging. I had set a web agency. Always loved tech. I've also loved teaching, and it was about 2016 when Facebook Live came out and became a big thing. And I was speaking at Social Media Marketing World. I think I was speaking on Twitter, actually. So Social Media Marketing World, big social media conference. And they do this weird thing every year, at the time at least, where they got like singers together and musicians, and we were singing on stage just to kind of welcome the conference in. I think we were talking about networking or something. I was thinking to myself, what on earth am I doing? I'm on a social media conference. I'm singing. I'm speaking about social media. And then Facebook Live came about. And I thought my background in performance and in tech actually really come together with live video. And so that's when I started thinking I can teach this, because I just launched, I just published a blog post about how to go live to your computer from using Facebook. It went completely mad, completely viral. I think it's had over like 7 million page views since I launched it. And I thought, I need to do this. But there was one problem because like I was teaching it, I was talking about it, but actually when it came to doing it myself, I was really nervous. I remember the first time I went live and I was absolutely petrified. I was worried about looking like a complete idiot, had imposter syndrome, all these kind of, dreaded diseases that us creative people tend to suffer from. I had. So I had to get over that. And so for the next 2 years, I went through this kind of mindset journey on how to actually get over my nerves and translate all the, I suppose, all the knowledge and expertise that I had as a performer on stage in front of the camera. And so that's what I do today. I help people, business owners, entrepreneurs, content creators, with the 3 main barriers to live video, which are the tech and gear, or the fear of the gear, the camera fear, and the content marketing sphere as well. So those 3 things.
Ian, you talked about 3 different things, and I don't know where to begin, because the music, the singing.
I know.
I almost want to ask you about your singing background, but it sounds like you grabbed the attention of people to go online in the very beginning. When was that?
So are you talking about live or just
live?
content?
Yeah, go live.
Live.
In the very beginning.
Live has been around for ages. I mean, you can go back to the noughties. There were ways that you could go live. It was a lot more complicated back then. And then there was, I don't want to kind of make anyone feel sad and nostalgic, but there's Google Plus, and there was Google Hangouts on air. That was a way. And I didn't utilize it that much, but I did go on it. So, but 2015, 2016 is when we started getting things like Meerkat, Periscope, and then Facebook Live came in 2016. And Facebook, obviously, I mean, it still is like a massive social network. It doesn't have quite the same power as it did back in 2016, but everyone wanted to jump on it. And unfortunately, living in the UK, being an Android user at the time, I didn't have access to it. So I had to find a way to get access to it. And that's how I stumbled across this way that you could do it from your computer. And I hate when things are complicated. So I try to find a way to make this easy. That's why I wrote this blog post that just kind of knocked down some of those barriers. And that's how I started.
I remember when it did start becoming popular to go live on Facebook. I remember that very specifically because all the big Facebook users and marketers were going live, just jumping on and trying it out. What tools, however, do we have now to go live? Because I'm assuming you probably teach people to use various tools. What are your favorite tools?
Well, back then it was OBS was the one. That's how I started. But it's not. It's free and but it's not the most straightforward. So the tools that I personally teach are Ecamm Live is my favorite, but it's Mac only. So there are alternatives. There's StreamYard, which I know is what you're using today. There's Wave Video. There's Restream. So those Restream, Wave Video, StreamYard, and there's also one called Melon. Those are all what I would call web-based live streaming tools. So they're really easy. You just go onto a website, you share your camera and your microphone, you can bring in guests. You can sometimes have up to like 9 or even 12 guests on your show. Really easy to use. So those are kind of the browser-based ones. And then there are some apps that you can use on your computer. So I use Ecamm Live, but there's Wirecast, there's another one. There's vMix, there's another one which is PC only. So there are loads of different tools, and it really kind of depends on what you're wanting to do, your kind of level, I suppose. And actually, I put together a comparison tool. So if you're trying to find the best live streaming tool for you, for your needs, whether you're a beginner, advanced, or whatever, a Mac or a PC user, you can go through this and it will choose the best live streaming tools for you. So I can give you a link to that tool on my website.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we've talked about like the software tools, so like how do you go live stream? But let's say somebody is making a decision about whether, like, what do they need hardware equipment wise? And I know that there's like some people who go live with ridiculously huge cameras and stuff, like people with microphones, and they're like,
yeah.
But what is your kind of advice in terms of hardware? I mean, if somebody's just starting out, and also if somebody wants to do a really professional, say, big corporate show, what is your advice in terms of hardware?
So the gear is one of those things that can really get in the way of the process, and it can also be an excuse. So I didn't go live for a whole month because I thought that my background wasn't good enough and that my camera wasn't good enough. I was comparing myself with others out there, looking at really professional streamers and thinking, oh, like I don't have the best gear. I like people aren't going to want to watch me. And that is such a ridiculous excuse. This is why I'm like so honest about this, because I want you to see how ridiculous that is. You don't need that. There are people out there that want to hear your message, and they don't really care if you've got like a mega professional camera or just you're using a webcam. So don't use that as an excuse. And if you're just starting off, you've probably got everything that you need already. If you've got a laptop, you could use your internal webcam. The main thing that you need is reasonable internet speed. So just check your upload speed. Ideally, I would be looking for like 4 or 5 megabits per second up, or ideally 10. You can get away with lower, but it just you'll have fewer problems. Yeah. So number one, internet speed is really important. The second thing that I would say is before you think about upgrading your camera, upgrade your microphone first. So get a good microphone is like there's a company called Samson, not Samsung with a G, Samson and Delilah, that one. Yeah. And they've got a microphone called the Q2U. That's a really kind of inexpensive microphone that's really good, because if people can't hear you, or if your audio isn't that great, they're going to switch off. So that's the second thing I do. And then in terms of like cameras, you could just get a Logitech webcam, like the C920 is discontinued now and very old, but it's very, very good. And just start off with something simple like that, because you don't need like a mega professional camera. Over time, you can upgrade that stuff and do what I've done and bootstrap your live video studio. So now I'm using a mirrorless camera. I'm using the Canon M50, and I'm already thinking about what my next camera is going to be. So I'll keep this camera and add another one. But the tech and gear, it never stays the same. You're adding to it over time. So yeah.
Ian, what do you say to people who are terrified to go live for the first time? I remember the first time we went live, I was absolutely terrified. And it was Tim who was like, well, you just have to eventually just jump in. You just have to do it.
You just keep doing it until you get so you don't care about doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's such a big topic. It's difficult to know where to begin because I think it depends on you, on what is stopping you from going live. So there were probably two ways to approach this. Number one is to ask the question, why? Why do you need to go live? Why do you want to go live? What's actually in it for you? Because if your reason isn't clear enough in your head, you're not going to go live, are you? You've got to have a good enough reason to do it. And so I, with my clients, always start with a planning document. It sounds really boring, but if you have a plan, if you know why you're going to go live, it's going to make it a lot easier. So we work out like, what is the show about? What's in it for you? What are you going to get out of it? What are the audience going to get out of it as well? And just plan it out so that when you do go live, you know why you're doing it. The second thing is to just jump in the deep end, but practice first. Practice in a safe space. So maybe it could be a Facebook group and go live in there. If you have a guest, it makes it a lot easier because it's just like a conversation with that person. But just jump into a Facebook group and just practice there. But you've got to have your reasons, and you've got to get started. And then there are lots of other ways we can talk about. There's breathing techniques. There's warming up techniques, and I have this formula called the Confident Live warm up formula, where we warm up your voice. We make sure that you're breathing properly before you press that go live button. And the final thing is, for goodness sake, have fun. Like it's it's actually embrace those mistakes and those flaws that you have, because it's ultimately not about you. The most important person on your live show is not you. It's not even your guest. It's your audience. They are the most important. So don't take yourself too seriously. Like if you make a mistake, just laugh at yourself, because it's those elements, it's those bits that people actually love. If you stumble over your words, if you make a complete idiot of yourself, you're making yourself more human. So, and over time, you'll get better and better. You will stumble over your words less, but don't lose your humanity.
So the reason a lot of people used to do like Facebook Live and Twitter Live and all the rest of it, and LinkedIn Live, was that generally speaking, the networks used to give those posts and shows more reach. That's not so true anymore. So what would you be like if you were hired by the Live Streaming Tourist Association or whatever to promote live streaming? What is unique about live streaming, apart from the fact that it used to have lots of reach and used to be, but now it's not so true? So why is live streaming still special?
Well, you're definitely right that the reach, the number of views has gone down quite significantly for most people. There are still those live streams out there that are getting good numbers, but the reasons for me have never like been primarily about that. That was great. Don't get me wrong. I loved it when I was getting like hundreds of people watching me live. But it's for a number of reasons. So first of all, it gives your audience access to you, so they can ask you questions. It also allows people to see the real you. Whereas like if we did this as a pre-recorded video, we'd all be tempted to edit everything out and make us look perfect. And people actually want to see the real you if they're going to work with you, or it just makes that connection more powerful. So there's that. There's a community building is really important as well. So you can grow your community through live. One of the big reasons why I love it is I'm a recovering perfectionist. And so I found that I've really struggled in creating pre-recorded content and blog content. Whereas all I need to do now with a live is, yes, do some planning, schedule it for next week. And then I go live, and after about an hour, I'm done. I've created that content, which I can then repurpose into all these different types of content. So I see my live shows as a content repurposing engine. You can turn it into a podcast, into video snippets. If you're really smart, you can do it all those ways, because at the end of the day, sorry to be so controversial, but not everyone likes live video. Not everyone watches live video. Some people prefer to read a blog. Some people like are driving. It's not a good idea to watch a live show while you're driving. So like turn it into a podcast, and So it's all those things as well. There's so many reasons why I love live, but those are probably the main ones.
So you mentioned that you can turn live shows into podcasts. Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, so you've actually got three audience potentially with your live show. You've got the people right at the people who watch it right from the beginning are the replay viewers. They're the people from the future, and they are watching on their own. The numbers of people watching that is probably going to be significantly higher than your live viewers. Then you've got your live viewers. They are watching now. They are watching together with other people. It's more of a community feel. And then the third audience are your podcast listeners, and they are in the future. They are listening on their own. It's kind of very intimate experience, but they are listening. They can't see what's on the screen. So you have to be aware as you do your live show that they can't see what's on the screen. So if you're doing something, if you're giving like a demonstration, you obviously have to just explain what's happening on the screen. So the way I do that, I do my live show in Ecamm Live, but you could equally do this in StreamYard. At the end of it, they'll give you the video and also audio files. So you can then just download those to your computer. I use a tool called Descript for this. So it's descript.com. I just bung the files into there. It will transcribe that into text. I'll just edit it and put an intro and an outro, download that as an MP3, bung it up onto a podcast host. And that's, I mean, I've simplified it, but basically that's pretty much it. That is my podcast. And the other thing I love about this is that since May 2019, I've never missed a week. My podcast comes out every single Friday. And the reason I've done that is the way I've done that, is I go live twice per week. Tuesdays and Thursdays is when I go live. And so I've been able to batch up quite a few in advance, which means that I can take a week off. I'm actually taking a week off live streaming this week because I've got other stuff to do. But that's okay because I've got I think I've got the next 8 or 9 weeks of the podcast already recorded from the live show. So if you're smart and if you have a good process, it just means that you can be really consistent with that content, which I never was before until I did this.
So you've talked a bit about guests, and obviously you can live stream without a guest. I mean, it's like you could do it on your own. But what, like, to somebody who's starting totally afresh and they want to do like, well, I've used it. I've got a long-running joke example that I use on this show. But let's say Christelle over here has just started a llama farm. I decided years ago to make this joke that Christelle was going to, and she wants to start an interview show talking to the best llama breeders in the world. How does she go about approaching them, and what sort of things should she keep in mind before approaching people and getting all the organization? And also, like, how do you deal with guests on a live show?
Oh, that's such a big topic, but I think we could be in danger of overcomplicating it. But I do think having a good process in place will just make your life easier as well. So I have a spreadsheet. I have Google Sheets, and I have all my episodes there. And I put in there like which of my 3 themes am I talking about? So I can go down there and I think, well, I've talked about, I don't know, I've talked about tech a lot. I've talked about content a lot. I haven't really talked about confidence and mindset that much recently. I need to find maybe a confidence coach or somebody to come on there, to come on my show and talk about that. So I personally don't have any issues finding guests because I've got so many more people that I want to ask that I already know like from social media marketing world and people like that. But you need to find people who are going to be relevant to your audience, are going to really give a lot to your audience as well. So make a list and then just approach those people. What I do is I have a guide, I have a guest's guide. So it goes through like what the tech that they need and what the show is about. And I send them that. And I also send them to my page on my website so they can find out a little bit more about it. And then I just email them and say, would you like to come on the show? It would be amazing. I think your audience would love what you're saying. And I tell them a little bit about my audience. In most cases, the next step really is to give them the booking link. So I use a service called Calendly. They come, they book that, and then they come onto the show. But for people I don't know that well, or people who are less tech savvy, will book in just a quick like 15-minute chat and just to check that the tech is working. And then I'll bring them onto the show. So that's the initial stages, and I have loads of systems in place. Like I have emails, templated emails that I send to them beforehand and afterwards as well. But then, of course, it's the whole like how to interview them on the show. That's a whole other thing, of course.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
What
this comment from Gabriella. Christian, when I mentioned the llama, right.
Yeah.
Did my face go?
Yeah.
One of the things I like about live streaming is the comments we get, and Gabrielle is a former guest and a good friend, so she's going to pick up on these things. And by the way, Tim, Gabriella thinks your llama podcast idea is brilliant. So you know,
It's gotta happen.
one day this will happen.
It would be, you could do it as a proof of concept. You could do a course about getting guests in a topic you know nothing about, and just start a llama course off.
When
and
I
then
moved
Ian
to
can sell it
England,
as part of his as a side thing about how to start a podcast on a topic you know nothing about.
That's amazing. Oh, you've said it now at Gabrielle. I think she's talking. I'm not sure what she's mentioning.
I
When
think
I moved to
starting a llama
England,
podcast, yeah.
I
Anyway,
mean, what am I going to do when I move to England? I definitely need to do this, Tim. It's your idea.
There's a llama farm not too far away from my parents. Apparently, I've never been there, but they do exist. So
They do. I saw one when I went camping in the Northeast. There was a llama farm. And so,
well, I think it was alpaca, wasn't it? Alpaca.
oh yeah, they were
they're the
alpacas.
pleasant cousins of llamas. The llamas apparently spit a lot. A lot of people don't like llamas at all. So
They were alpacas. That's true. They're cute little haircuts following us around. Ian, tell us about your show. Tell us a little bit about. You have one or two shows? Are they two separate shows?
well, I have one show at the moment, but I'm going to be launching another one tomorrow, actually. So, but my main show is the Confident Live marketing show. It's goes live to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I don't know why I do Twitter, but I do because you can. And so there's that, and it's also a podcast, as I said. So I go live Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the podcast comes out on a Friday. And it's a mixture of either a solo show, or I invite guests, and actually quite often I actually really enjoy bringing guests on because you can have a conversation, and so you can get free consultation as well. So it's great fun. And yeah, that's I've been doing that since May 2019. But I am joining Tim in the world of Amazon Live. I have been broadcasting to Amazon Live for a while, but not like as a dedicated show. So I'm going to be doing a dedicated show starting tomorrow, just testing the waters. But my aim is to do a regular live show on Amazon and see how I am on that. So it's just going to go live to Amazon, which is a whole other kind of thing, really.
It's a whole other topic, isn't it?
what products are you doing it on? I'm looking to like push you out the book space
Yeah, well, so tomorrow is actually I'm doing just like a one-off. It's for Father's Day, so it's kind of studio gear. So all the stuff all the gear. Basically, in true honesty, it's everything that I bought on Amazon in the last 2 or 3 years that's relevant. So it's like kind of, but the aim is to kind of broaden that out, and I might actually add some books tomorrow because I've only got 20 products, so I need to maybe add a few more things as well.
Well, I mean, on the shows I've done, like, admittedly, I'm interviewing somebody about books, but I've done most of the shows I can get over an hour, which is like the length of time they say that though. I doubt that you really need to do an hour but you need to do it to get. The way it works is you have all these little hurdles you have to jump on the Amazon thing before you can do particular things. So you just want to keep going for as long as possible. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I think I'm what's called a rising star at the moment, which is the lowest tier. So I think I need to do 90 minutes in order to get to the next level, which I can't remember what it's called. But and I have actually done that, but they were not dedicated shows. So they were my Confident Live marketing show, which was me interviewing guests. And it wasn't really related to products at all. So like with yours, Tim, you're talking about books. So that kind of makes total sense. So I want to do a proper dedicated show and then I'll apply for the next level.
Yeah. While we're here, let's talk about, because Amazon Live is one new live streaming platform, but there are things like Twitch and other, how many different live streaming platforms do you know of? I mean, there's the obvious ones like Facebook and Twitter
Yeah.
and
Well,
LinkedIn, but I mean, there's probably a few that you've heard of that even I haven't heard of.
yeah. I mean, I use a service called Restream quite a
Yeah.
lot, and they have loads of different ones. In fact, they have things like, so yeah, there's Twitch, there's Facebook, obviously there's LinkedIn, but then there's these other like gaming ones, gaming platforms as well. I'm trying to see if I can find where they are. But yeah, there's at least 20 or 30 of these, I think. Yeah.
I think, was Twitch a gaming platform at one time? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it still is mainly a gaming platform, but there's quite a few creative people in there. So like I know people who do like knitting on there or carving. So a lot of these platforms are like gaming related. There's like there's also ones from other countries, like international ones. There's like a Nono Live, V Live, Nemo Live, Kakao TV. What's the other one? Africa TV was one. There's one called Mixcloud, which is a really interesting one if you are like a DJ, because if you pay money, you can actually get licensed to play the music without any copyright strikes. So that's an interesting one. There's also D Live is quite a popular one for gamers. So a lot of them are big for gamers, but if you are a creative kind of person, then Twitch is a good one. If you're more into business and marketing, then obviously LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I mean, YouTube still is the biggie as well, and Twitter Live kind of plods along.
Yeah, I know YouTube is kind of the new way of the younger crowd. Perhaps older people are doing it, but I know my boys don't even watch TV. They watch YouTube. They're doing what I used to do growing up, but it's all on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, to be honest, I hardly ever watch TV.
Yeah,
I
I'm the
never watch
same.
live TV. Well, very rarely, unless it was like, we just had the Jubilee. So I watched some of that live, but most things I watch on YouTube or Netflix. And yeah, and my son is always on there. He's either watching like Minecraft on YouTube or he's into Rubik's Cubes and things like that. So he watches all those videos.
Gabriella said, "This is great stuff, Ian. Really enjoying this interview." Gabriella, are you going to go live? Is this going to make you have your own live show?
She has been live, hasn't she? I don't know. Maybe,
I don't know that I've seen her go live.
But that's one of the sad points about Facebook Live. It used to be like, oh, somebody's live, and it was like one person. It's a bit like the whole joke about email. They had this meme with like somebody saying, "Oh, an email," and then it's like when all this junk mail was coming through, and now it's changed to like all this spam email, and then just what? Oh, a letter.
But you can still, if you have a community, if you invest in your community, you can still have a good group of people watching it. You can, like, if you go live to a Facebook group, that's a really good way.
Yeah.
If you email your list to say you're going to go live, it can still work, but it's not like the golden days, I will admit.
Yeah, the new. Ian, where can we find you online? Where can our friends find you, our guests find you? If they want to learn more about your live stream coaching, if they want to hire you, where can we go to learn more information?
The best place is my website. It's very simple. It's just iag.me, and you can find out. I've got courses there. I've got my blogs. I've got my podcast, so you can check that out. And if you want to stalk me in a nice way on social, I have carelessly scattered myself across all the socials as well. So just search my name, Ian Anderson Gray, and it's Gray with an A.
Yeah, and you can scan the QR code, and that will take you to my website, which basically just has a link to the YouTube video of this and Ian's. If you can't really be bothered with like typing in stuff, you can just scan that and then just go and click onto Ian's website from there. So, hence the advantage of QR code.
I like the idea of logging into courses. Tell us your favorite course that you have online.
Oh, the one that I've got, or one that I've.
That you're
one you've got, yeah.
One of your own courses.
So
you don't want to promote somebody else's, yeah.
We can do. Do you know, it's funny actually. It's sometimes it is difficult to promote your own stuff. It's a lot easier to promote other people's stuff. But yeah, well, actually, next week I'm going to be launching one called the Confident Live Toolkit, and it's got called the Confident Live Launcher at its heart, which is all about how you launch your live show and your podcast. But the exciting thing about it, I'm excited about it anyway, is that it has loads of templates. So it has my run of show template. It has my guest checklist and all these other things, a run of show generator that you can download as part of it. So that's going to be launched next week.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for being on the show. I've just seen a new comment come through. So I think it's excited. Oh, yeah, it's just Gabriella saying what your email or your website
Being our
was.
assistant here. Putting our
So you don't have to bother scanning the QR code. You can just type that in. But yeah, thanks so much for being the guest today on the show. And as well as new intro, I've got a new outro as well. So if you want to see the new outro,
Let's get it.
is everybody ready?
I'm ready for that. I'm excited, Tim. Thank you,
Thanks
Ian.
everybody
Thanks,
for
Gabriella.
watching, and hopefully talk to you guys next week.
This is what God requires.